I've brought you a gift. It's our podcast, nothing more. And it's called The Swamp. Welcome, as always, to our show. It's The Swamp. It's an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And if you know that line from TikTok, but not from its source material, get ready to get educated, because we're covering the 1986 Jim Henson Labyrinth as part of our Queer Sexual Awakening Month. Thank fucking God, because this is on, like, everyone's list, I feel.
Do
like,
you
David
think so?
Bowie in those pants. I feel like
God, yes.
when I was, like, looking on Letterboxd under people's, like, My Gay Awakening playlist to get inspo for this month, this was always on there, and I'm like, oh yeah, David Bowie in those tights. And also, like, Muppets, I feel like is, like, a whole, like, people who watch too much Muppet content as a kid, or, like, puppet content, I think I'll have, like, a, like, trauma bonding, I don't know. But anyways, we have a beautiful, wonderful, and lovely guest who picked this as your choice as our guest. We let our guests pick what movie, and this was yours, and I'm so fucking excited to talk about it. David James.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. And by meet everyone, I just mean I'm glad to be filling your ear holes with my voice.
Thank God, because you seem to know so much about this movie.
An unnecessary amount about this movie.
I was gonna say, you laid out like 9 different options for us. And I was sitting there, I was like, okay, these are all so good, like, and you whittled that down. So I was sitting there, I was like, okay, what's like a reason for us to talk about puppets? Because I know Dara is gonna want that.
It was puppets or Brad Pitt.
Exactly.
That's what it came down to.
Honestly, a Jim Henson-ass bitch is my kind of person. Like,
Cheers to that.
like comfort conversation topics. I met a new person recently who had a Kermit tattoo, and I was like, oh, thank God. We have something in common.
I can connect with you.
Phew.
But so, do you want to tell us a little bit about why this movie is it for you?
So, I mean, we kind of lightly touched on it, and by we lightly touched on it, I mean, we would all love to lightly touch David Bowie's codpiece in this movie, which really, it's like, you don't see it for a good half of the movie.
Yeah.
But then once you see it, you begin questioning everything.
Yeah.
Uh,
Your Honor, it looked at me first.
It was staring me directly in the eyes.
Did it just wave at me?
So when I was looking through like the different movies that I owned from like my teenage years, and I was like, this is like dead giveaway. I had the 20th anniversary edition of this movie like on DVD with the box set with the 4 hours of extended features. Because I was obsessed with this movie.
Okay.
And so I also had it on Apple TV because I had to re-buy it because I don't have who has a DVD player.
No.
So I was like, this has to be on this list. And then when you were like, Dara's gonna love this, I was like, perfect.
Yeah, Dara, and I'm assuming you've seen this movie before.
So, honestly, like, I have vague memories of, like, a VHS from my childhood, like, maybe once or twice, but it was not, honestly, it's mostly through, like, memes and just, like, cultural osmosis that I've been familiar with it, but honestly, I have not straight up beginning to end watched this movie since I was, like, before remembering age, like, like 4 or 5, you know? So, this was, I think, the first time I actually, like, could comprehend plot. And
Oh yeah,
Right.
there were moments where I'm like, oh, this is seeming familiar to me, but I hadn't watched it in a really, really, really long time. But oh my God, David Bowie's wig, that's a whole other like
the scene revolution started with that wig.
and the flared eyebrow to match the flared makeup. And I was like, whoever did the costumes and the hair and the makeup in this movie, it just deserves the world, because they're like, you're gonna wear tights, and that's it. And your dick, cock, balls, camel toe are all just and that's fine.
and that's fun. Yeah, every lesbian was like awoken by David Bowie's eye slit in this, the eyebrow slit. That's what it was for us. It was the dick and balls for everyone else, but the eyebrow slit, yeah.
There is one point where it like the rule of thirds, his crotch is taking up the first 2/3 of the screen.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like somebody else is like somebody else is talking in the background, and it's just like a blurry crotch shot. And I'm just like, wow, they're not like, this is, at this point, it's purposeful. Like,
I did take a note, like it was, because I was like, when is this shot that I like keep thinking of vividly in my brain? It's seared. It's in there.
Yeah.
So it was in the shot after the oubliette. They like, he's talking to Hoggle.
Oh, yes.
And so literally it's Hoggle on one side of the screen, but they've cut off all of the top half of David Bowie.
No.
And it's just Hoggle and David Bowie's crotch. I'm like, oh, that's what I remember.
See, for me, it was, when it first made itself known to me, was the dance and song scene.
Oh, Magic Dance?
Yeah, that one. You know the one. The baby's getting, like, thrown up in the air, and he's just gyrating his hips.
which, okay, like, we can get into it. Let's do a little plot summary for anyone who hasn't watched this movie in a hot minute, because honestly, I think it would be valid if you've seen this movie, like, a good number of times to only remember, like, the music scenes, the general puppetry, and, like, I don't know. Like, yeah, like, general concepts, but, like, the actual plot of this movie is, like, what the fuck is going on?
There's so much. It really is.
Makes no sense.
15 things.
It's The Wizard of Oz, like, plus baby napping, plus David Bowie, plus puppets, plus, like, the Bog of Eternal Stench. Let's not even.
Let me tell you what. The Bog of Eternal Stench was my sexual awakening.
She said, I've never smelt anything like it. I was like, that's a gif right there of Jennifer Connelly saying, oh, I've never smelt anything like this. I'm like, you could put that, like, next to any picture of me, and, like, that's so fair. Like,
as long as
sweaty you today.
As long as my response gif can be, the air is sweet.
Yeah, so where to even begin?
David James, do you want to, like, do a recap? Because I feel like you are the most qualified amongst us to do so.
I will get into a small amount more detail than you normally get into, but I feel like that will be forgiven.
Okay. No, I think it's what, like, everyone needs it, so.
The movie literally starts with the world's first CGI animal on screen, which is the owl. Yeah.
It is so giving, like, bowling screen, you just got a spare. Like, the owl swoops down to knock down the bowling pins, you got a spare. I was just waiting for it.
So, we start with the CGI owl, which when I found out, I was like, stop. Because I love computer graphics and computer science. So anyway, so the Labyrinth book is actually being read in the opening scene by our heroine, Jennifer Connelly. Her name is Sarah. We figure out that she's, like, super into all things mystical and magical. Her dog's literal name is Merlin. She gets home,
which they pull a little fast one on us, and they, like, make you think for a second that it's, like, gonna be set in medieval times because she's dressed like a fucking peasant woman, and she's like giving a monologue, and then they, like, zoom out, and it turns out she's just reading from a book, and then she, like, runs into town, and you're like, oh, it's set in 1986. That's so clever, because I was like, does this movie, like, take place in the olden days? I was like, no.
It really does feel like that, and especially if you've only seen the little snippets in the middle of the movie, or, like, that's all you remember. It makes sense that, like, this is not a dream sequence kind of movie. So we get home. Her wicked stepmother what did I say? Be wicked stepmothering. Great. Good commentary on my part. And then she literally walks up to her room in the most over dramatic teen like thing I've ever seen, and she, like, slams against her bed. I can't believe I have to watch over my little brother again. She's like, she walks into Toby's room because her parents took her little bear from her one of 30,000 dolls that she has into his room.
So
this is a 16. She's
16 in this movie.
She's canonically 16, and her room has like children's toys.
Nothing but
like,
children's
hooked on phonics, fucking like children's toys. And I'm like, I know that thematically we're supposed to be questioning her sort of maturity level. It's all about her like recognizing the space between adulthood and childhood, whatever. No fucking 16-year-old has like a wall of stuffed animals that they and if you do, that's almost problematic. Like if you
are talking
like,
to the generation of Squishmallows.
That's true.
I get, but like her whole room is like building block puzzle type toys.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, girlfriend, you are 16.
We also
get over it.
It's really weird because this movie is coming out like so 1985 is when we get Breakfast Club, and so we get that kind of look into a teenager's life where we're looking at like drugs and sex and like parental abuse and like all of these like really difficult topics. And then literally 8 months later, Labyrinth comes out and they're like, I'm still a kid. So it's like, and I'm sure in 1982 when they started the concept of this movie, they could not have known that literally only a couple months earlier you would have had some of the biggest movies coming out being about like the teenage angst struggle. So I think that it's a really, really interesting juxtaposition when you look at it like that.
But also, like, she had, like, an open copy of Where the Wild Things Are on her desk. And I'm like, girl, your reading level, you need to...
Step it up.
So she walks into Toby's room and sees her bear, Lancelot. And she's like, Toby stole this from me. Toby did not steal that from you. He's a baby.
Toby cannot walk, speak, or, like, think for himself. He's literally, he has to be, what, sub 2?
Oh, yeah. He is also canonically 2.
18. Yeah, I was gonna say, that is an 18-month-old child.
So, he has this, she goes into she's like, I can't believe you stole this from me. She raises the baby up, and she starts trying to, like, chant these magic words to get the goblins to take them away. And the goblins are, like, giving commentary on the side, like, those aren't even the words. I wish you would take the baby away right now. How simple is that? So easy. She accidentally slips the words out as she's, like, traipsing out of the room. And of course, like the goblins come in, take the baby, and David Bowie shows up. I'm sorry, Jareth, the Goblin King, shows up.
Okay, like they gave him this.
The Goblin King.
No wonder he has his cock and balls out. Like they gave him the sexiest name.
Jareth. Oh, yeah.
It's Jareth.
I know somebody who is named after Jareth, and he's like the definition of like privileged teen into delinquency that I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah.
Who, like
it tracks.
Who very much could have, because to me this reads very much as like a Peter Pan story.
Yeah.
Where like he attracts Wendy, she comes away to like some magical land, they go through some adventures, and then like in the end she realizes she needs to go home. And so very much in those like guidelines, she's...
Except this time, it's adult David Bowie and teenage Jennifer Connelly, and he is gonna date rape her along the way.
Then we need to talk about this right now instead of like continuing with this, like the the retelling of this movie. Jareth was originally supposed to be just a giant puppet. Jareth was originally one of two things: a giant puppet or another famous musician of the time. Do you want to guess?
Oh, I read it was like Michael Jackson, Sting, what, like Bon Jovi and someone else or something?
The other one that was like in the immediate running was Michael Jackson.
Oh my god.
So like
that's so much worse.
I know. I was like that movie would have played horribly now. But the codpiece would have stayed.
Yeah, of course. I think Michael Jackson would have fought it. Like I think David Bowie definitely was like leaned into it. He's like, okay, come on, can we do more? Actually,
can we show off more chest?
Stop. The way that David Bowie, similarly to Keira Knightley in Pirates of the Caribbean, has the giant pendant in between his fucking tits.
Look at my chest. So immediately, like they do this really interesting shot where like we're looking at David Bowie, and then they turn the camera around to her, and suddenly the labyrinth is in the background. So we already know it's in play, and that's it. And he's like, you have 13 hours to complete this labyrinth. What they don't say in this movie, which is like the exposition that they missed a lot of exposition in this, which is really weird. So the exposition is essentially, if she doesn't get the child in 13 hours, the baby becomes a goblin. And so they never mention it in the movie, but it is in the original script, and it is in the telling that was Brian Froud, which is actually like the artist who rendered all of this. Like that was his storyline that he wrote.
See, that's wild that you say that, because I literally didn't pick up on that. I just thought David Bowie wanted a baby this whole time. I just thought that this was him being like, I'm here to adopt.
Exactly. Like, it's 1986, and they won't let him adopt as a single father.
Well, so like if you look at the rest of the movie, it starts to make more sense as to like he already knows how long it takes someone to get through the labyrinth, because when she gets to the oubliette, he's like, she shouldn't have gotten this far. She should have given up by now because other people have. That's why so many goblins. But also that means...
See, that makes so much more sense. My take was like, this man is just trying to be a father. Like, Jennifer Connelly, just let him have this. Honestly, you don't give a fuck about Toby. Like, just let him have this.
How many 16-year-old girls are there that are chanting this magic spell to get their baby brothers taken away then? If there's that many goblins?
Hundreds. I mean, you look at any mom's Facebook group and they'll tell you about how many thousands of children go missing every year. It's a completely incorrect statistic if you're listening. But they believe it happens all the time. So we get introduced to Hoggle as she walks up to the labyrinth. He's like, She realizes really quickly that there's a very specific way that the labyrinth likes to do things. You have to ask specific questions. You have to do specific things. And she says, how do I get into the labyrinth? Instead of asking, where's the door? And he's like, oh, that's how you get into the labyrinth. She walks in. There's this endless tunnel, which that endless tunnel is an illusion. It's a painting.
What?
She runs down the same endless tunnel 6 times. It's the literal, if you look at that scene and watch it over and over again, she runs over the same branches over and over again.
See, that's so whack that you mentioned that, because I was really paying attention to the branches, and I'm like, wow, the prop department went outside, grabbed a log, and just put dollar store glitter on that shit.
So much glitter. Like, the glitter budget.
It's mystical. It's mystical now. It's like literal just like logs and branches covered in glitter. It's like an attempt was made.
I want to, like, the budget for this movie was $72 million, which is $100 million less than the original Top Gun, which was released the same week as this movie. So they had a third of the budget to make another blockbuster movie, but Jim Henson has hundreds of people working on just puppetry alone in this movie, and Top Gun had 9 people. The cast.
And wasn't this movie like a huge flop for that reason?
Oh.
Wasn't it like something else, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Karate Kid 2.
But they all came out the same week, and so this movie was a huge flop, and it like entered a dark period of Jim Henson's career where he like felt like a failure because this movie flopped so hard that everyone's like, maybe puppets just aren't in anymore, and he was like, okay, I guess it's over for me.
And sadly,
clearly put so much into this because it's like,
and so unfortunately, this was his last movie. Because of that, he ended up getting strep and. This is taking a very dark turn. So he ended up getting strep, and he never sought treatment until it started infecting his lungs so bad that he couldn't walk. And then by the time he tried to get treatment, they were like, "Oh, we can't cure you. Like, you should have come in months ago." And so he ended up dying a literal month before my birthday.
Oh my god!
May 16th, 1990. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so sad. But like the other movie that he started making before he died, because he was like, you know what, we're just gonna pick up the pieces and make something else, was Muppets Christmas Carol.
Hell yes.
Yeah. So the last full length, like feature length movie that he worked on was this. But
oh my goodness.
Muppets Christmas
rest
Carol.
in fucking peace to a legend.
Literal
For
legend.
real. I feel like
somewhat recently, I was in some sort of like, you know, when, like, they make you, like, do the job equivalent of saying your name, your major, and a fun fact, where they're like, we're doing, like, ice-breaking bonding for, like, the team or whatever, like, some fucking stupid shit at the office. And they literally were like, okay, can everyone go around and, like, say who their hero is? And so I said Jim Henson, because I felt like that was a good answer, and I had to go first. So I was like, okay, yeah, like, whatever, Jim Henson. And I was like, you know, the whole, like, just creativity and spreading positivity and teaching kids how to read and all that good shit. And then literally everyone after me said, like, my grandma, my sister, my mom who's a nurse, which is, like, great, but then it makes me look like a fucking asshole. But I was like, okay, everyone's gonna say, like, my uncle who's a war veteran. Like, yeah, okay, great, thanks, Greg, but, like, you're no Jim Henson, I'm sorry.
I have to agree with you.
Did your uncle create Labyrinth? No. Jesus.
So she's running through this, like, ridiculously long tunnel. She comes across a worm.
My favorite puppet.
Literally the nicest puppet.
Oh my god. His little accent.
Do you know your way through the labyrinth? And he's like, no, just a worm.
Come inside.
It's, like, so fair.
Come inside.
So fair. Like, yeah, why would this fucking worm know what's up? He's 3 inches long.
Literal worm. And he's like, turn around. There's like an entrance right there. And she's like, what? And then we see, like, literally for the 3rd time in this movie, I feel like, and we're 15 minutes in, and we've seen our 3rd optical illusion, because she's got her hands out, which is literally what I would be doing, and she just walks through a wall, and then when she walks past, you can't even tell where the wall ends and the other wall is because of how good the set work was
so well
on
done.
this movie. Anyway, she runs down there, and she's my other favorite part of the worm. Oh, don't go that way. Never go that way. That'll take you straight to the castle at the center of the labyrinth.
Oh my god.
Genius. And then we get to Dance Magic Dance, which is the first, which is the, let's talk about that. Dance Magic Dance.
Well, Dara, so we have a bit of a connection to this song, in the way of...
Unfortunately.
Well, we talked about it, I think we talked about it when we did Scooby-Doo. Because they also, like, I don't know what the thing is, but, like, the first line, it's, like, the power of the babe, the babe with the whatever, something, voodoo,
hoodoo.
Yeah,
which is a line that's stolen from, like, a 1950s movie.
Okay. But that's so good to know, actually, because I have no idea. Because there's a song that uses that in the Scooby-Doo movie, but... Hearing this whenever I watch this movie is so jarring, because, like, Dara and I we talked about it endlessly. Everyone knows we did band in high school.
Together, that we trauma bonded because we were the band who played for the show choir, so we had to be around all the fucking theater kids all the time. And that's why we're all such close friends still to this day. That's literally why Henry and I are married, because we had to trauma bond over fucking being around theater kids. And before every competition, they all stood on stage and jumped in unison and said, like, do what with the power of the voodoo? Who did what? Whatever the things
the
are.
Whole
but then
line.
when we were seniors in high school, they told us that they couldn't do that anymore because of, like, cultural appropriation. So
I didn't know that.
They said you can't say voodoo because that you can't. You guys are all white, and so
right.
Kids,
I don't think that just saying voodoo is the problem so much as maybe using it as your chant.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem with you saying cornrows, but if you're white, maybe avoid having them.
Yeah. But so, like, whenever I, like, this, like, because I've seen this, like, twice in the last year or something like that. Whenever I watch that scene, I feel like I got, like, flashbanged. I'm sitting there, like, I start, like, heavy breathing. I don't know where I am. But then it's, like, David Bowie and his, like, dick in my face.
Suddenly, I'm so ready to play the synth piano intro to Chandelier by Sia. Like, I know it so fucking well.
Oh my god. Oh, so okay. Here are my interesting facts.
Yes, please.
About specifically about this scene.
Okay.
So number one, you mentioned that that recently we were talking previously about you've seen the Dark Crystal Chronicles, right?
Oh yeah, I'm a little slut.
So do you know who the one of the producers is on that show?
George Lucas, right?
I mean,
is it because he's also George Lucas produced this?
Yeah,
I knew that. What is the Dark Crystal?
So the Dark Crystal Chronicles. So Toby Froud is one of the producers on the Dark Crystal Chronicles, and he is the baby in this movie. He's the literal child.
He's Toby.
Toby Froud is Toby.
I'm
son
so
of David
obsessed
Froud.
with that because that's wild. I'm so obsessed with that because also it's like Jim Henson's daughter who like really spearheaded the TV, like the Netflix TV series and everything. So I love that they're keeping it in the
It's all family.
They're keeping it. Oh my god! I also love that his name is Toby. IRL. They were just like, why would we rename this baby? He's literally just a baby. That's Toby.
So yeah, I always thought that was super interesting. So also Toby is the son of the artistic director. So it really is keeping it in the family.
Yeah, really.
We love ethical use of a baby. It's like, yeah, I'm working on this movie. You can just have my baby. Like, don't worry about it.
They're not like at all abiding by like the child labor laws or anything like that. They're like, oh no, we can like waive that. Like we don't need twins for this.
Well, so he made the art for this 4 years prior. So 1982 was when he finished the art for this, which means he didn't have a child yet.
Do you think he like swindled his way into it?
It was like 2 years later.
Hey babe, what do you think about having kids?
Also,
secret ulterior motive.
Also, Toby, I have a picture of Toby as an adult, and if you're listening to this, you should look up Toby Froud and then just literally click on images in Google Images, because he 100% looks like how you would expect a adult puppeteer to look. In that he
oh my god.
I was like, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, but he's the one in the cap.
Oh my god. And AI image generator, adult puppeteer named Toby, and then that's just images of this guy in a top hat.
It literally, it is almost exactly what you picture.
Yeah.
As far as like, the other thing is the song. So like David Bowie when he was approached for this project, they were like, well, so it's not that we can't write songs, it's that we don't want to. Do you want to write all 5 songs for this movie? And they just like put it off on David Bowie. So he wrote all 5 songs for this movie, including this one.
Okay.
Which totally checks out because they just sound
they sound David
all
Bowie.
A little bit the same. Yeah, they like all sound like vaguely similar. Like you could play all 5 of them on top of each other and it would have kind of the same like cadency David Bowie, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's David Bowie.
I mean, I feel like you could what you can take away from those songs is there is a synthesizer.
Yeah,
that is a great name for a cider. A synthesizer.
Synthesizer. I'm writing that down.
Take my ideas. I come up with them too often. I have ADHD. They're gone. So yeah. So I always thought that was really cool. That he ended up writing all of the music for the actual and the opening and closing song are the same song. Just like we only hear the instrumental at the beginning and then we actually hear the whole thing at the end. Mm-hmm. But that's one of my favorite songs of like all time. I'm sorry, one of my favorite movie songs of all time, I should say. So, and the other one, of course, is from Muppets Christmas Carol, The Love Is Gone.
Yeah, of course.
After that, we've got the Two Doors riddle. Has anybody ever been able to figure out that damn riddle?
No. I still don't, like, she, like, fully explained her answer, and the whole time it was happening, I was like, okay. I know the whole trick is, like, you ask the other one if they're lying or not, and whether they say yes or no, you then, through reasoning, can deduct whether they're the liar or not the liar, because you...
I
literally,
just
I'm dumb as
I have a 50-50 shot. I'll just take a guess at that, like,
Me
genuinely.
too. I'm like, honestly...
Like, no chance would I even have gotten this far in the Labyrinth, so, like...
When the worm invited me in to meet the missus, that's when it ended for me. I was heading in for a cup of tea. Fuck Toby the baby. I'm heading in to have some worm party time.
I absolutely agree. I probably would have backed out. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, you sound lovely. And those guys were just goading her.
Really?
Yes. Like they're like, oh, we're not gonna be friends of yours. We're specifically going to make this difficult for you.
Yeah.
Which happens originally with Hoggle. He's like, literally, fuck you and we are not friends and you should not trust me. And then throughout every step of the movie, she continues to think that they're friends and trust him. And every time he betrays her, she's like, Hoggle. And then she just keeps trusting him, even though he just continuously is like being against her. And literally from the moment they meet, he's like, here's the facts. We are not friends and I am not ever telling you the truth. And she's like, okay, so you're my companion for this trip, huh?
Here's the thing, is Hoggle Judas? Like, what, like...
I mean, like, it's so weird because he's Judas.
She's Jesus, he's Judas. I don't know.
I mean, it's a really hard sell for her being Jesus. She freaks out about everything.
Yeah, she does. She does not want that baby. She's like on her last legs of like.
She moves with no sense of urgency, I gotta say. She like says like the magic words, "I wish the goblins would take this baby away," which, mind you, I think my favorite scene in the whole movie is all of the goblins collectively like urging her to say the phrase, because I'm like, I wonder how often this happens, because there's a fair amount of goblins, so it must happen sometimes. But they're like, we've geolocated, we've micro-targeted a bitch she's into D&D, has a stepmother, hates the brother, it's triangulating perfectly, we gotta hone in on this one. And they're just like watching her through CCTV in her house, being like, when's she gonna say it, when's she gonna fucking say it. And yeah, she's like, I wish I would, and they're all like holding their breath. Because I'm like, they have to, this can only happen so often, because when does a teenage girl ever hold up an infant and say, I wish goblins would take this baby away? Doesn't seem like a frequently used phrase. What was that? But then as soon as she gets into the David Bowie takes him away, and she's like, no, can I have him back? And he's like, no, you cannot. And she's like, ugh, what? Okay, like, what can I do? And as soon as she gets it, she's chatting up people, she's asking questions, she's taking little leisurely breaks. I'm like, Sarah, you're moving with zero urgency in your body. If that was truly a baby you wanted to save, you would scale these walls and you would be surveying the land. You would be sprinting. You would be moving. You're a 16 able-bodied, young, athletic girl. You can rip through this maze if you so tried. No, she's like, I'm gonna just take it at my pace.
Stroll.
I also want to say she made zero physical contact with Bowie. She, like, literally, Jareth stole your child, your baby brother, stole a child, and you didn't think for a second, maybe sock him in the nuts.
Yeah.
Like, maybe...
They're right there.
They are presented for you. You can see them. So I literally, like, I agree with you. She makes absolutely no effort in any capacity to just, like, attempt to stop him or... with the exception of that one really long running scene, which we get for 5 minutes?
Yeah,
at the beginning of the movie.
She's winded for the rest of the movie.
And then she stops to chat with a fucking
I
word,
do the same.
Which I guess it did end up helping her out. But I'm like, girl, if you're gonna stop and have a full on convo with every puppet you meet, you are never gonna get to your destination.
So many.
I mean, like after basically, like what happens after the puzzle, or was it the two doors thing?
Yeah.
Is she. Hoggle, like, beats it.
Right.
He hears one scary noise and he said, I'm out of here. And then we meet, oh god, what's his name? The giant guy.
Oh,
Ludo. We meet Ludo.
So I would argue that Ludo is her only resourceful or helpful friend.
He's the hero of the story.
Hoggle is a fucking traitor.
Hero.
Yeah, Hoggle's a fucking traitor. And then Didymus, who we meet later, is just, like, small and annoying. And is just, like, scampering about. Ludo can control rocks with his fucking screams. Only pal you need. Only pal you need on this journey is Ludo. Drop the other two. Like, why are they tagging along? I don't understand.
Right? Didymus is there just so that I can, like, pet his dog, like, when I get, like, really worked up and, like, work myself back down.
Which also, what masterful, like use of actual dog, puppet. Actual dog, puppet. Actual dog, puppet.
I just love that it's, like, a dog-like creature on top of a dog.
Oh, yeah, well, they're both puppets and both dogs. It's really weird.
What?
It bothered me so deeply that, like, what's her dog's name? Merlin?
Yeah.
Merlin.
That's literally her dog.
Yeah.
It's her dog from the early scenes. And she doesn't say a fucking word. She doesn't say anything. When Didymus is like, oh, come here, my steed, and hops on, she didn't say, like, dude, that's my fucking dog. Like, nothing.
Too concentrated on the baby.
No, she is not, because she still does, like, 10 other side quests.
No, you're right.
Before, I'm like, how are you not, like, being like, whoa, what's my actual pet dog doing here, who I read poetry to for 10 hours a day? That's why I can't show up on time to babysitting because I'm just reading poetry by myself. If she was at D&D, I would have understood. Right? Like this, my solution for young Sarah is that she just needs to find, it's 1986. D&D is hot. D&D is hot right now. Find some weird boys in your grade who have a D&D campaign going and get in on that, Sarah, and then you don't have to have these like existential feelings about your family because you can simply live out your phantasmagorical fantasies that you clearly have in that way, and that just like will make so much sense rather than you're reading poetry like to an owl in a park that's gonna get you into some shit. Doesn't make any sense to me.
My second solution for her would be, is it called a G-Force watch? Those digital watches that came out in the 80s and then everyone had forever. When you press the side, it glowed in the dark.
This?
Yeah. That's literally what I'm talking about.
Sorry, the watch that I'm wearing?
Kara is currently wearing that watch. So,
it's a Casio.
Casio. Okay, I would even take that. Literally, that should be her, because that was like the first watch to have an alarm on it, which could, tell her when to leave D&D and go home because she had to take care of her brother.
Yeah.
She's like shows up late and her mom is pissed. And I think like as a child viewer, you're supposed to be like, oh, her stepmom's such a cunt. But
she's
like
an hour late.
Like she's an hour late and she was literally just reading poetry to inanimate objects in like a public park. You're not
next to a clock.
And her mom was like, yeah. Oh, and her stepmom was like, oh, if you were on a date, like, I would have understood, but, like, you're not. And then she was like, fuck you, and runs up the stairs, which is, like,
Also, her stepmom's only other option is, you need to be dating.
Yeah.
Do you see her solely as an object, stepmom?
She's like, sorry, if you're not getting laid, then you gotta be babysitting. Those are your two options for me. But, yeah, I'm like, why aren't you playing D&D? Like, you're literally wearing a corset. Why is she? She's cosplaying.
Yeah.
No, really.
She's cosplaying by herself the whole movie. Nary once does she look like an old Navy bitch. She is wearing a billowy outfit with a corset
I love her outfit in this.
Oh, 100%. I want to say she's one step above cosplaying. That she's LARPing at this point.
The Renaissance Fair is in town.
With those pirate outfits that we were talking about like 2 episodes ago, this is the outfit. This is what you should be wearing to the bar.
Back at it again with another chocolate or vanilla interim podcast segment hosted by my mother, Jen. She comes in, she asks us 2 questions. Well, not 2 questions. You just say 2 things, and the question is which of these things is the superior thing, and everyone says which thing is the superior thing in their opinion, and that's the game. Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm sweaty.
I went to 4 grocery stores before this, so I'm
maybe not as sweaty.
You're grosseried out.
Oh yeah, I'm rampant. But I did get myself an Instant Pot for my birthday, so I'm happy.
Ooh. Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm not sweaty, so there's that. So that's how I am.
Yeah. Fuck off. Jen, as always, is there a theme?
There is
week?
a theme. It is puppets.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everybody loves puppets.
That makes a lot of sense.
So chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Muppets Christmas Carol or Muppets Treasure Island?
Ooh, I gotta go with Muppets Christmas Carol, because I always liked when we got to watch that one in school. Like, I feel like we got to watch it in school every year, and it was always, like, the day before break, and they'd be like, yeah, it's a based off Charles Dickens, so it's educational, but it, like, was just the Muppets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I am also gonna go with the Muppets Christmas Carol, because I just think it's the best version of A Christmas Carol.
So I, much like this movie, I know way too much about A Muppet's Christmas Carol. I have an entire diatribe about 10 minutes long about the Muppets Christmas Carol because I know so much about it.
Oh, we have to do it next Christmas then.
I am obsessed with that movie, so I'm going to go with Muppets Christmas Carol.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm going to bump the trend and go with Treasure Island because I love Treasure Island. Next thing, Where the Wild Things Are or Never Ending Story?
I've never seen Neverending Story, but my husband's last name is Valcor, but it's like the big dragon is Falcor, and everyone's always like, that's such a cool last name, and I'm like, it's not Falcor, it's Valcor, but it is close enough, so it is a cool last name. But all the time people are like, oh, Neverending Story. I'm like, yeah, not quite, but...
Yeah, you're like, almost.
But I've never seen it, so I'll pick Where the Wild Things Are, I guess, because we stan a children's literary icon.
Yeah, I've also never seen Neverending Story, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I know, right? So I'm gonna have to also jump on this train with Dara and say Where the Wild Things Are.
So in with my unnecessary amount of knowledge for the Labyrinth, Where the Wild Things Are creator actually tried to sue to stop the Labyrinth production because of the character Ludo and the song Wild Things. So I have seen the Neverending Story and I love the Neverending Story. So the Neverending Story.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna go with Neverending Story too. That's a good story.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, it's
fun fact.
Oh,
That's an extremely fun
you're going to hear a
fact.
lot of this.
Next one, Little Shop of Horrors or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, the
Because
fucking
of the plants.
the plants.
Like the plant in Little
Groot?
Shop of Horrors and Groot.
Groot is not a puppet. That's
I
some
know,
CGI
I know.
fucking bullshit.
I know.
That does not count.
So, my themes are never perfect.
So I will pick the one that's an actual puppet. So I'll do Little Shop of Horrors because even the raccoon wasn't a puppet. If they had done that the way they did in fucking Everything Everywhere All at Once, Raccoonie, the raccoon was an actual like taxidermied animatronic raccoon that they used, and I'm like that. There's no excuses. There are no excuses to not just use a legit raccoon.
Yeah, really.
So step it up, Marvel.
Can you not just train a raccoon, please? I just hate Chris Pratt and everything that he does, so I can't go with Guardians of the Galaxy. So Little Shop of Horrors, of course.
Yeah, Audrey has a very oddly sexual voice, so I'm gonna go with Little Shop of Horrors too.
Same. I'll go Little Shop of Horrors for this week. Next one is Gremlins or Ted.
Ted is the teddy bear who makes adult jokes.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll do Gremlins. I had a stuffed gremlin that I had growing up.
You would.
And it was like stuffed, but it had like a hard nose, and I remember I really liked to bite on its hard nose. So that's it's like a distinct memory for me.
See, I'm like-
was that little gremlin.
I'm like realizing that like the gremlin that you had was definitely like the cute version of the gremlin, but in my head, like you would have had like the gross, creepy one.
Like this has hard
Gizmo.
leathery
His
skin.
name was Gizmo.
Yeah, Gizmo. Yeah, and I was just like
Oh,
gnawing
the
on his-
Mogwai.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have to go with Gremlins on this one.
I am piggybacking and also doing Gremlins. Yeah.
Okay, we have another sweep then because I'm gonna go for Gremlins. The next one is Jack Skellington or Beetlejuice.
Again, neither
I
of these
know.
are puppet.
They're puppet-like.
They move in a
They're puppet-ish.
in a
I was gonna
puppet
say-
puppet like motion.
Hold on, but like think about you remember like the worm in Beetlejuice?
Yeah,
that was
stop-
definitely yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
was-
stop motion.
Oh,
That's why.
oh,
That's why.
stop
I did.
motion.
Yeah.
Same idea.
that's like I told somebody once that that their movements reminded me of Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I felt like that was a huge compliment I was giving them, and they were like, "I don't know what you mean." And I was like, you move with like the way that Fantastic Mr. Fox does in like the stop motiony, and they were like, "Yeah, I don't like
I'm
stop trying
calling
to
you
explain this to
George
me. I don't know
Clooney.
what you mean."
Please take
Yeah,
some notes.
Oh my goodness.
But I guess again, as far as like puppet legitimacy, I'll pick Beetlejuice because that definitely had more practical effects in that movie. Whereas I guess was Nightmare Before Christmas even actual stop motion, or was it like
it was one of the last
animated?
stop motion movies. Yeah, there's only been like a handful since.
That's kind of Coraline and Kubo.
Oh, so good.
But yeah, I'll still pick Beetlejuice.
I just like Beetlejuice better, so I'm gonna stick with her.
Nightmare was one of the movies that if you didn't like it as a scene kid when I was in high school, you were wrong. So I know like everything about that movie. Wow, it's too much for today. I know too much about puppets apparently. But I'm gonna say Nightmare.
I feel like I distinctly remember a Hot Topic shirt that like had like Sally standing on the like swirly thing, and it was like that quote like, "We can live like Jack and Sally if we want," and everyone had it from Hot Topic. And you were not cool if you did not have the merch, the Hot Topic merch for Nightmare Before Christmas year round.
A real conversation for another time is Blink-182's absolute transition into emo music in the course of half an album. Like,
I'm gonna go Beetlejuice. All right. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? I forgot.
Ooh.
I'm feeling sweaty summertime. I have strawberries on my earrings today. It's feeling right for me. I will pick strawberry.
I'm also going to go strawberry today.
And I just had a strawberry rhubarb soda, so I'm going to go with strawberry.
Ooh. I am also going to go strawberry.
Yeah, peer pressure, Jen.
Let's do it.
No, we really
strawberry
you.
this up. Kermit, Gonzo, or Fozzie Bear?
Waka waka. I'll pick Fozzie Bear.
I think I gotta go with the classic Kermit, honestly. Yeah.
And Gonzo is a non-binary queen, so Gonzo for me.
I love the memes that are like, every non-binary person dresses like this, and then it's just Gonzo wearing like clashing patterns.
Yeah. Happy Pride to Gonzo.
Happy Pride, Gonzo.
I'm gonna go Kermit. He's just so anxious.
I like the way that, like, you can tell that somebody's just making a fist in his head, but it conveys such real emotion. You're like, I also feel like that sometimes.
All right, next one is Avenue Q, or the best puppet show from 1995 to 1998, The Puzzle Place.
Stop. Literally, I was like convinced that you had gaslit me into thinking that this was a real thing I experienced as a kid, because every person I meet, I'm like, did you watch?
I think you can stream it now.
There's no way. I can't find anything about it. The Puzzle Place. It was a kids' TV show that we only had on VHS as hand-me-downs from my older cousins. Nobody shares this nostalgia with me. It was a bunch of kids, and they lived in a library, and at night, the library closed, and they were all puppets, and they had a cat and a dog.
Different
parts of the world.
of the US,
and they went around the library, and they like learned things. There was a cat and a dog. Sizzle and Nuzzle. I swear to God, if anybody out there has any connection with, was it on PBS?
I don't even.
So.
I want to say yes.
I was
The
about to say
Puzzle
I was like an obsessive PBS kid. If you can't get that from what I've told you about me so far,
do you know of Puzzle Place? Then?
And Puzzle Place was not on it. At least when I was living in America.
So I have to say Puzzle Place, but like I'm convinced that Mandela affected myself into convincing an entire children's show exists that never existed, because people of all ages that I've asked have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
Jody, Ben, Julie.
Yeah, I could sing the theme song if you want, but I'm not gonna go there. But I had the pleasure of seeing Avenue Q. Stop. You're triggering me. But I saw Avenue Q on Broadway, and it was probably the best show I've ever seen, but also I just love puppets. I was like, wow, they're singing and doing puppetry. That's so fun. But anyways.
I just really want someone to reach out now with something about the Puzzle Place.
I will lose my goddamn
Aaron
mind.
will reach out.
Yeah, my cousin Aaron, because we got the fucking hand-me-down VHS tapes from their family, so that doesn't count.
I, like probably many of you, have not seen The Puzzle Place, so I'm gonna have to go with Avenue Q on this.
Jen did this to rile me. You did this to rile.
I actually did.
I was gonna say, Jen, she's already sweating.
I also saw Avenue Q on Broadway, so I'm definitely going with Avenue Q.
Yeah, this one was hard for me. I am gonna pick Puzzle Place because was a big thing for us. But we saw Avenue Q too. It was so good, so good. Next one, E.T. or Mac and Me.
This is another thing nobody knows. Mac and Me was like a straight to DVD knockoff of E.T. about like an alien that a kid finds, and then he has to keep it secret from his parents and then save him from like scientists. It was the same plot.
But instead of Reese's Pieces, it was
I think like mac and cheese, something.
No,
yeah,
it was like
literally
Skittles or M&Ms or something.
Literally a shot by shot, straight to DVD knockoff remake.
So I will only correct the one thing about that, which is I definitely had it on VHS, so I think it came out on VHS first.
Straight to VHS. But I gotta pick the OG E.T. I think I've told this story before, but instead of going to our senior prom, Henry and I and Jen all went to the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and they showed the movie E.T. while the orchestra like played the score. It's one of the coolest things I've ever been to.
It was really fun.
Yeah,
really fun.
I'll pick E.T. because also it's just like was an original concept, and this is just she's a fluke.
Yeah, I mean it's E.T. It's E.T.
And for me, I am a huge Drew Barrymore stan, from Charlie's Angels to like name anything she's in, I'll watch it just cause. So yeah, Drew Barrymore in E.T. is iconic.
I love her show, her talk show now. She's so unhinged. She'll do anything 'cause she just can.
I do, and now she almost exclusively talks out of the side of her mouth, which is very interesting.
I'll take E.T. Fraggle Rock or Dark Crystal?
Ooh, okay, Fraggle Rock is, like, integral to my childhood love of puppets and Muppets, but as I'm going to do as my follow-up later in this episode, the Dark Crystal, I wasn't never really, like, into the movie or anything, but the Netflix series is what, like, re-inspired my Muppet puppet love as an adult, because, like, watching that show and being like, why the fuck is everyone not doing practical effects? This is fucking lit. So, the TV series, I recommend anyone. I think it's, like, 10 episodes, and it's a prequel, so you don't have to have watched the 1970s movie, Dark Crystal, to watch the TV show. Highly recommend, so I'm gonna pick that one.
I haven't seen either, but just because strictly of how much we've talked about Dark Crystal on here, I'll go with the Dark Crystal.
I don't know if the original Fraggle Rock was a movie or a TV series, but I do know that there's a remake of Fraggle Rock on Apple TV as well. I saw one episode of that, but because I know, it's just because I know so much about Jim Henson movies that are not specifically Muppet movies. Talk to me about Muppets, I got nothing. But anything outside of that, I know all about it. So yeah, I also have to go with Dark Crystal.
I'll go Fraggle Rock. I think it was a TV show, is my guess. But next one is Ugly Dolls or Pinocchio.
I don't really know Ugly Dolls. Like, I know the, like, toys that you can buy, but is it, like, a movie?
It was a movie.
I don't really know. But I do love the memes recently of, like, the new Pinocchio movie that they put out where his voice is like, I need to be on my own. Dad. Geppetto. Those really tickle me. So I'll say Pinocchio.
Yeah, whiny twink Pinocchio. I guess for Pride Month, I'll go for Pinocchio then.
Hey, if you can make your appendage bigger,
Why not?
that is a skill in our community. I'm also gonna go with Pinocchio. Also, I have not seen these memes, and now I'm like,
oh my god, so good.
I took a break from TikTok.
Fair. As you should. As everyone should.
I love an OG classic Disney, so I will take Pinocchio, but I like the theme song from Ugly Dolls. Kelly Clarkson sings Broken and Beautiful. It's a really nice song.
Oh.
Next one is Jeff Dunham or Glee Season 5, Episode 7, where Blaine hallucinates that all the Glee cast is puppets.
I simply for the citation of episode. Do we have a timestamp? Like, do we have a timestamp of when they turn to puppets? I love when TV shows do like quirky episodes where they decide to do something different. Like one of my favorite shows, Community, they do it all the time where they're like, everyone's gonna be claymation this episode with no explanation.
That's
or like,
so fun.
Oh, we're all just gonna be like doing this one thing for one episode. I don't know. I love it. So also, isn't Jeff Dunham like problematic? I don't know if I can back that up with information.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. So as far as my puppet love ends at Jeff Dunham, so I'll pick Glee Season 5, Episode 7.
Yeah, it's definitely Glee for me, Jen. You know that.
I agree with your sentiment that like having TV shows do like one-off episodes that are wild for no reason. My best example of this would be Even Stevens did an episode where the brother, like Shia LaBeouf's character, got sick. And, like, he hallucinated the entire day because he had the flu. And this song from 2003 has stuck in my head. It's been 20 years. Stuck in my head. And it's 6 period, 6 period, 6 period. And that is why I love episodes like this. So I'm going to say Glee as well. Okay. Any show that takes that, like, shot in the dark, I applaud you. Please keep doing it.
Someone felt really bold in the writing room, and it always pays off.
You know that, of course, I'm picking Glee, and like the Santana puppet was so good, and I think they ended the episode with "What does the fox say?"
Oh God!
Here's another triple: Big Bird, Cookie Monster, or Elmo?
Wow, the Oscar the Grouch erasure that is happening here on the podcast. I gotta go OG Elmo. Elmo in Grouchland is one of, I think, the most prominent pieces of media from my childhood. So, for the fact that we get no Oscar the Grouch, I will pick Elmo for the sake that he is the protagonist of Elmo in Grouchland.
Yeah, I think Elmo's just a funny guy, so I'm gonna stick with Elmo.
I have a consumption issue where whenever I feel depressed or sad, well, those are the same thing, or anxiety, I don't tend to eat, but I tend to overconsume everything else. So I'll spend all my money or whatever.
Yeah.
And so in that way, Cookie Monster is that kind of iconography for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Cookie Monster on this.
I will take Elmo because I loved Elmo.
Tickle Me Elmo, a classic.
And that is it for Puppet, Chocolate, or Vanilla.
Well, thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. Have an awesome week. I love you guys.
Oh, so I was like, so after the doors, we have the Helping Hands.
Yes, the Helping Hands, which was like, what was it, like 100+ latex hands were made for that?
Puppeteers, yeah.
Amazing.
All puppeteers, and it was the most dangerous thing that Jennifer Connelly did because she almost lost a finger. So the rig that was set up to have her like drop, like if she reached up and grabbed it at all, it would snap her finger off. And she did it one time, and they had to liquid bandage her.
Oh my God.
Her finger was fine, but she ended up with like a severe rope burn. She's fine. But,
if anyone was wondering about Jennifer Connelly, she's okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen her recently in a movie called Top Gun Maverick. She's doing great.
Which is so whack that you mentioned that movie was released, like the original Top Gun was released the same week as this movie, because now we're covering this movie the same week that the new, like, this is just, like, weird time loop. This is reality, it's not real, but...
And so I was like, what's after...
Helping Hands? I don't know.
Honestly, the oubliette. The
oubliette happens, and then Hoggle's there.
Hoggle's back.
He helps her out.
We get the real scene of the cod piece. Like, we get it in your face. We really appreciate that. We get the weird fortune teller who's unnecessary.
Yeah, totally unnecessary.
Sometimes the way forward is the way back. Sometimes the way back is the way forward, which has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
No, literally nothing.
So then we get Ludo, which, by the way, fun fact about Ludo, there was a band called Ludo that I was listening to in 2008 when they were a grunge scene, emo band. I Love Me Dead is like their major song. They are named after Ludo.
Thank God.
And he is their little mascot. So in some of their like artwork, they have a artist's rendering of Ludo.
I love that.
What's after that? The knockers, the earpiece and the mouthpiece. There's so much going on in this movie. I'm realizing.
Like, too much.
That to me is just like a reiteration of the like trickery riddle scene where there's two doors. I'm like, once again, but I'm like, honestly, I think they were just like, hey, how many fun puppets can you think of? And he was like, 1 million. And he was like, 1 million. And they were like, okay, well then we'll put 1 million puppets. It's like the whatever mystic who like says backwards is for. I'm like, they just want to make another fun puppet. Clearly, they're like, we'll fill 5 minutes of space, which this movie's not too long. I think it's like 100 minutes. It's like an hour 40. Yeah, I don't even give a shit because like there are parts I don't care that the plot makes really no sense and like the continuity of what's happening because my eyeballs are constantly being entertained of being like, wow, a person is controlling that thing that I'm looking at. That's wild.
Except for
and like the hands are so cool and like again when they do the
helping hands?
Ears and the mouth or the ears and the mouth puppet on the doors, the knocking door. Those again, I'm like looking at it trying to decipher how they're like going about doing that. I'm like, I don't even care that this is a plotline that already happened 10 minutes ago.
Right.
I just like it.
I think the next thing that happens too, though, after the doors is not puppets.
It is puppets.
It's
the Wild Things.
The fire.
Yeah, the fire gang.
The fire dance.
They are puppets?
They are puppets. So they're weird. So
because it looks like CGI.
So each puppet. So that's actually. So this is the most contentious part of the film.
Okay.
When it comes to, I know the gossip behind the scenes.
I know
So the George Lucas fought for this to be in the movie because it was right, and I was like, this could have been scrapped yesterday.
Entirely.
But he fought for this to be in the movie because it was his concept. Sorry, George. And also, it was like, he was like, oh, this is such a really good use of green screen, which wasn't used in the rest of the movie. There was no green screen shots in any of the movie except the Wild Things. So essentially, they each of the puppets' hands, legs, and bodies were attached to different puppeteers. And the rest of their body was a black or a green lycra suit. And so like the hand, like each time you see the puppets coming together, that's 5 puppeteers standing like literally humping each other in a human centipede like train. Just like making these puppets come together and then like coming back apart, and then like only one puppeteer has control over the head. It's like Hoggle is the same, by the way. Hoggle is controlled by 5 different puppeteers and a little person in a suit. Like, also, can I say my fun fact about Hoggle?
Yeah, please.
Do you guys want to guess where Hoggle is right now?
I saw, because I watched this.
Hoggle, the puppet. Like, am I guessing what museum? Okay.
I don't know.
Or like,
because I saw,
I'm going to say, okay. My guess is buried in the ground next to the dead person who was in the Hoggle suit. Am I even close? Or is that so morbid?
It's incredibly morbid, but honestly, that would probably happen.
I just know because I watched this on Amazon and they have the trivia that comes up on the side, is that Hoggle went missing in like someone's airplane luggage at one point.
Jim Henson's
luggage. In Jim Henson's luggage, and then like popped up like later, and the person that found it was horrified by what they saw.
So he was missing for almost 15 years before they found him. And when they found his puppet, he had just been in a suitcase for 15 years. So his face was decaying and you could see the machinery behind it. They had a master puppeteer come into the Alabama, baggage claim museum.
The baggage claim museum.
And so this baggage claim museum now owns a fully restored version of Hoggle.
That's amazing.
And so that's my fun fact about Hoggle.
I love that.
That's so fucking funny. Which is like, again, my fun facts are like the surface level Amazon trivia that pops up on the side, and it was that like what Jim Henson's brother is like the voice of Hoggle. Like, okay. Yeah, so what? You have the baggage claim museum fun fact. I cannot believe
the depths of this movie.
I love it so much.
And then next scene is your favorite scene. It's the Bog of Eternal Stench.
Oh my god, yes.
The Bog of Eternal Stench. Which I like again, so this movie is what? About 100 minutes. So I only have to cut 10 minutes for it to be Dara's 90-minute film. So I only have to cut 10 minutes. So honestly, like, there are parts, and the back and forth on the bridge with Didymus, I will be cutting pieces in there, because
totally
they just are going back and forth, and then the resolution is that they just have to say, do I have your permission? And then he says, yes, and then they cross. I'm like, so this like literal 7-minute drawn out scene of you like having a little spat, the conclusion is that like it was like a grammar issue.
Yeah.
That's and I think I could cut probably 8 of my 10 minutes that I need to cut. And then the other minutes will be, what is the mystic? The mystic, that makes no sense. Right. It doesn't need to be there. I'll cut that too. Done. We could even put it at 85.
Can you also cut? Because, like, basically after this, they end up, it was, oh, wait, no, there's the trip scene.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind.
I was going to say, I was like, right after this is the, what did I say? Icon, legend, star, the drag moment of the movie. It's the masquerade.
Wait, oh, yeah, I wanted more.
I wanted so much more.
I would cut more. I would cut more of the other stuff to get to lengthen that scene, because the costuming. But so basically, they go into the Bog of Eternal Stench, and it's so stinky, and they say, we got to get out of here, it's so stinky. And then they get to the bridge, and Didymus says, you can't get by. And then they say, okay, fine. And then they try to sneak by, and he says, you can't get by. And then he says, you have to ask my permission. And they say, do we have permission? And they say, yes. And this whole thing takes like fucking 15 minutes. And then they get by, and then the Peach.
They get hungry.
He has been So Hoggle has been secretly carrying a peach that Jareth gave to him, and he said, you gotta give this to Sarah. And he's been tempted to eat it a few times, but he says, no, I gotta praise be unto him, Jareth, I gotta do. And he literally always tells Sarah, he's like, don't trust a thing I do, because I'm a villain. And she's like, okay. And then he's like, do you want to eat this peach? And she's like, of course I do. yeah, literally like apple in the Garden of Eden. Like, okay, Sarah, you fucking dumb bitch. And then she then the whole, I'm not gonna like get into the whole like date rapey drug, like he literally roofies her with a peach, convinces like this whole like dream sequence where they're like dancing together, and I'm like, is this supposed to be romantic? Like, is his objection here like he has the baby and wants to turn the baby into a goblin, which I just learned 20 minutes ago that I just thought he wanted the baby, but like is he like interested in her romantically or sexually? Because it feels like it.
Well, yeah, so he literally says or she says, like, when she's reading the book, like, the Goblin King is in love with the girl, so he's supposedly in love with all of these girls that he steals their brothers for goblins.
And he says something along the lines of like, you have me, I'll do anything,
I do everything
you want,
for you,
I'll be your slave. Which is, I'm like, she's 16 and you're 40. Or how old is David Bowie?
I think he's in his 40s or 50s. But like the weird thing about this is that like there is some like suspension of disbelief, or like we're supposed to believe that he's some timeless character as opposed to being a 40, which I don't know whether that makes it better, because if somebody was like, I'm actually a 4,000-year-old god, but I know that you're 38, but I'm hoping that this could work.
Literally Edward and Bella, like. But I'm like, what is this romantic tension they're trying to play up when she's in the movie, she's 16, but in real life, she's 14. They just thought that she had a more mature look. I was looking up because I love to look and see what other people were considered for certain roles. Because I love to like sub in my brain to be like, oh my god, what if that was Sting? Like, what would this movie?
I mean, but like Jennifer Connelly's character, we're talking about like Jennifer Aniston, Marissa Tomei. Who else was like up for this role? I don't even remember.
I remember like looking at it, and they said that the reason that they had picked her was that they felt like she was a little bit more mature and could play that role between childhood and adulthood a little bit better. Like when they have her all dressed up and looking like a princess, she could look 20, but when they have her dressed down and looking like a kid, she can look 13, 14. So they liked that about her. And that's why I was like, this is so weird, this whole like scene where she looks fucking stunning.
Oh, yeah.
The costuming in this scene is everything.
Hair.
Her hair, her dress, oh my god, like
the crown,
high couture, fucking couture, and I'm almost distracted to the point where I'm like, oh my god, she's slow dancing with a 40-year-old man who's like trying to like not only kidnap her baby brother, but also like weirdly seduce her, and I'm like, this is not right. Like, this is not right. But I'm so distracted by the fashion and the glamour that I simply do not care.
So 2 really fun facts about this scene. Okay. Number 1, Paul Bettany, who is Jennifer Connelly's husband, watched this movie and said when he saw this scene, he was like, that was the scene that made me fall in love with her. And then like went on to like meet her and marry her later on. And he was like, it's the ultimate like stalker fan meets his idol, but like accidentally they fall in love with each other. So that's number 1. And then I was like, which is a weird way to phrase it, but he understands it's all weird and it doesn't matter.
Okay.
The other thing is the masquerade is actually based off of a Henson tradition. So they had masquerade balls. And so Andy Warhol was in attendance for one of these balls.
Oh my god!
And so they were like, we have to solidify this in some form of art. And so when they were making the Labyrinth, they were like, we have to put the masquerade in there. And so to the one that was before the masquerade that was before the Labyrinth, Jim Henson actually stole a bunch of set pieces and like
that's amazing.
And like went to the so I thought that was really cool.
He was there for work.
I'm here for work. I get to write this tack right up.
Anyway, so after they get out of the bog of eternal stench, and then it's like
scene.
The big fight scene, right?
So after the trip scene, and then
the bag lady moment.
I hated her. Oh my god.
Oh, just grab onto your little bear. Don't you love Daisy?
I can't. But no, I hated that one. That's another one of those characters that you could have totally cut out.
Right. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and they do the flashback, and I think that was just, like, really hammer home. Like, if you weren't getting the metaphor about this being, like, a childhood innocence thing, and, like, the draw between, like, your childhood self and your, like, blooming adult self, and, like, you need to learn maturity, and, like, all that shit of, like, her, like, being forced to sit in her childhood bedroom and, like, go through her, like, yeah, again, just, like, didn't really make any sense. And then the fact that the conclusion to it was she was like, you were sleeping on me.
Oh, we have two pieces left. They fight. The big fight. The big automaton. where we learn that Ludo's powers are used for more than just making a brig.
Which, this is the point where I was like, homegirl, why did you even bother keeping Hoggle and Didymus around? Because they're not doing anything in this battle sequence. It's just literally, Ludo just yells at the sky and boulders roll through. He was the only person of value to to keep along the way.
When we got introduced, I remember the first time that I saw this, and I made Ludo akin to Lenny from Of Mice and Men, where it was just big, strong, dumb.
Yeah.
Two of my ex-boyfriends. I was like, you fit the bill. And then at the end I was like, no, but he's in comparison to those, I was like, oh no, Ludo has the most value of any character in
Easily.
this movie. In things that people overlook, he finds friendship, the rocks. I know, the story is deep with this one.
Yeah.
So Ludo is just, I feel like, the most underrepresented character, but
Easily.
also he's the hero. He just is the hero.
Course.
I mean, David Bowie has 2 boulders on him at all times, but they are strapped to his groin. And they were trying to escape when Ludo did his little call.
Exactly. They felt the calling. Oh my goodness. But yeah, basically that's where the movie comes to a head.
Yeah, I was like, and then the MC Escher scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the end of the movie. So this is the really interesting point, which is this MC Escher scene is actually the reason for the scene in Doctor Strange. Okay. So this MC Escher scene actually helped make the MC Escher scenes in Doctor Strange, and the director of Doctor Strange is now going to be the director of Labyrinth 2 because he was so interested in doing another one of these scenes.
Oh my god!
And they're going to yeah.
I didn't even know they were making a Labyrinth 2.
It is in pre-production, which is a hellhole if you've ever worked in Hollywood.
So it'll be 10 plus years till it's made.
Well, I mean, so it's technically been in the talks since 2018.
Okay.
So do either of you have options for who you would want Jareth, the new Goblin King, to be played by?
Oh, yeah, so it's wild that you say there's going to be a Labyrinth 2, because to me, I'm just like, okay, David Bowie is dead, and Jim Henson are dead, so, it's just,
so the production team is looking like the production team from the Dark Crystal Chronicles, though.
Which I was gonna say then, course correction myself, because I can't be out here saying that they shouldn't be doing sequels to old shit, because I'm obsessed with the Netflix Dark Crystal series that they did. So, I do believe that in the right hands, if it's, the people that Jim Henson trusted to do the original shit, if they're a part of this, then I think it could be really great. And I would, like to think that the disgusting trenches of Hollywood are not trying to seep their fingers into this. I think this is one of those things where they're like, oh, we'll just let them make it, and if it does well, it does well. Hopefully, which it will just be good either way. Because, as soon as people start thinking that this is a money hole, they're like, oh, we need Nick Jonas to be Jareth, and then it's like, okay, now that's a problem. But I mean, if they needed to pick a present day pop star to be the way that they did then, I'm so biased. This means nothing. I'm so biased, but I always think that the lead singer of Greta Van Fleet,
that is a hell of a choice. I love that choice.
He's sort of my Dr. Frankenfurter. I think if he did that it would really work for him, because he's kind of absurd in that way, and he wanted to be a filmmaker, but then he was the lead singer of his brother's band. So I think if they asked him to do it, I don't think he's popular enough for them to say, but I think he's quirky and weird enough that it would work, and honestly it would really work for me. So that would be my dream cast, would be that they would just get Greta Van Fleet to be all the human people in this movie, and then they would, I don't know about who else who's currently very famous, because if they're oh, it's gonna be Shawn Mendes, no.
Does it need to be a pop star? That's my issue, is
they do need to be able to sing and act.
That's the tough thing. Cause
so I was like, I have a short list of people that have been floated as the leader.
The only person, and not even a pop star, it's just because he's at the top of my head because of popular media right now, and he's skinny, gaunt, and blonde, is what's his name? Jamie Campbell Bower just was in the 4th season of Stranger Things. He played. Yeah, do you know who I'm talking about?
I would argue I would want not him, but the guy who plays Eddie Munson, the curly-haired banged D&D guy. I don't know that actor's name, but I would argue that I would prefer him to be the Jareth character over. I know the skinny, gaunt, blonde man you're talking about. I mean, he might be.
Yeah, I think he just looks the part.
But anyways, tell us who's the legit list, because I'm gonna gag.
Number 1, and probably the funniest, Paul Bettany.
Oh my god.
Who is, like I said, currently married to Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah. Also, like,
well, that's kind of like I was like, if we're still in that range, it is kind of weird. Number 2 is Lady Gaga.
Okay, yeah, oh yes. Oh my god.
I was like the camp of it all. And she would live to like change 15 outfits in this movie.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Like I was imagine a masquerade scene, but like a properly done, we make it a third of the movie masquerade scene.
God.
But like every time we see like Lady Gaga walk past a column post, her outfit changes.
It's very like Devil Wears Prada, like that.
The montage.
Yeah,
at the beginning. That montage is timeless.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay. Number 3, Janelle Monáe.
Oh, I didn't think it could get better.
Right.
Oh fuck.
And so that one has been floated.
Oh, she'd be so good. She'd eat that shit up.
I mean, if Dirty Computer is if we base anything off of her work in Dirty Computer, I think that she would do phenomenal in this.
I'm gonna start crying.
The last name floated is, of course, Jennifer Connelly.
Oh.
So Jennifer Connelly coming back, but her reprisal role is the Goblin King.
That'd be okay. That'd be so iconic though.
That would be fire, but like, why do I think that they would be like averse to making it like sexual? You know what I mean? Like they're trying to create this sexual tension between young Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. But why do I feel like if it was like another young woman and any of these people we've talked about, they would be like, oh, suddenly it's this very like, it's beyond that, which I honestly would respect more, because the whole sexual tension here was kind of throwing it off for me. Right. Whereas I feel like if it was just a power struggle, if it was straight up, I mean, if it was like a gay power struggle, sexual tension, like, that'd be great.
Right, this whole movie is about like learning lessons, and I was like, well, if it was like a twisted take on like the fairy godmother trope, I feel like we would get a much better second movie.
Which I wish like that would actually make more sense, to be honest. Like that would check out more than what they have going currently, but I hate to think that in Hollywood they'd be like, oh, it's gonna be like offensive, so we're not gonna.
We can't do it. But I definitely like. It's been. I was gonna say they're already writing the script, or they finished writing the script, I think. So now it's like finding a studio, finding the actors to sign on to the project. And the estimated delivery date is 2024. I hope that it happens. I really hope. I think that either Janelle Monáe or Lady Gaga would fucking murder this.
I could be so happy with either of them.
I'm thinking of like Lady Gaga in Hotel, like AHS Hotel.
Such camp.
Like that Lady Gaga, I feel like could sell a witchy like fairy godmother.
Easily. But I mean, like Janelle Monáe.
And like marketing value for either of them, and like then all of the spin-off, like the Lady Gaga as Jareth eyeliner set from fucking Anastasia Beverly Hills. Like, are you kidding me? Like every other like spin-off thing you could do from that with either of them, literally my advertising brain is going crazy.
On that note, do we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming?
Yes. It's tough because who do you want to fuck, marry, and kill? Because there's one clear adult here, and it's David Bowie as Jareth / the Goblin King / inventor of going goblin mode. Sorry, Julia Fox, but Jareth went goblin mode first. But like, who are the other two like marryable or fuckable not child?
Ludo.
Like, Yeah, like what do we have? Like Ludo and Hoggle?
Yeah.
I suppose Hoggle.
Well,
Right,
I think the obvious choice is you fuck actually, well, I'm gonna marry Jareth.
You're like, oh, you're manipulative, but you'll do anything for me?
Yeah, okay. You're on your hands and knees for me? Okay. I'm gonna marry Jareth. I guess I'll fuck Ludo. And then I'm gonna kill Hoggle. I'm gonna kill Hoggle. What other? We've talked so much shit about Hoggle this entire time.
Oh, I'm not fucking Hoggle. He can decay in some package.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't help but say that I agree with that statement because I do want, like...
But it just feels wrong to say you're gonna fuck Ludo.
But also, like, the Goblin Queen feels really right for me. Like, I am.
Right?
I, like, good to be the Goblin... Every time where Jennifer Connelly's, like, in the dream sequence or he's, like, enticing her, I'm like, simply fuck this baby. Like, who cares? I'm like, I'd be like, so what's the tea? Like, do I get to stay? Like, what do I have to do to stay? Like, I don't care about the kid. Keep the kid, turn the kid into a goblin, send the kid back. I don't care. But, like, what do I have to do to, like, hang out here always? Because she's constantly, like, role-playing and being a fantasy world in her normal life. So why would she not just want to stay here? Is my thing. And I mean, other than the fact that it's very age inappropriate, she's 16 and he's 45. Like, that's not, I'm not condoning that. But
he the whole time he's like, hey, I have this magic crystal ball. And if you take it, you can see whatever you want, whenever you want. Like, I'm literally giving you magic. And she's like, no. I understand that I've spent my entire life fantasizing about this.
But I want the baby.
Shan't. Yeah. Also, I was like, I swear to God, this is my last fun fact. The little contact juggling that he does. So David Bowie couldn't contact juggle, so they tied his hands behind his back, and then somebody like stood behind him and blindly stood under his cape and blindly contact juggle. That's why like he's most of the time not wearing a cape, but then like only when he's contact juggling, he has a cape on.
That's amazing. Of
do
course.
either of you remember those infomercials about Fushigi?
Yes, of course.
Literally when he's like, I brought you a gift. I was like, yeah, Fushigi for $9.99. He's like juggling 3 Fushigi in his hands. Like that's
Oh, speaking of sexual awakening,
juggling the
having a man just fondle a set of balls in the whole time. That's his whole that's his move. That's his move to get women. Are you sure about that? I don't
he
know
wants the 16-year-old girl?
Yeah, that's like, hold on, let me take that back. That's your move to get a 16-year-old girl?
It's like, buddy, you might want to rethink all of this.
But she's seen the infomercials.
Of course.
She's into it.
So he's really good.
Why are you always hunched over when you're doing this? Is there a man behind you? I'm gonna marry Ludo. I want to be a rock deity.
Okay.
But I'm gonna fuck Jareth because I'm not getting to the center of the fucking labyrinth to the castle and then just not having sex with the Goblin King.
After you've seen what he's done with the balls, like
you've been fondling those things in front of me for 13 hours.
Give me what I'm deserved. Oh my god. And okay, so eat or drink for your movie pairing. You're having a little dinner party. What are you serving? I have a hard answer for this.
Okay, I'll go first because mine's pretty lame. Because we've already done peach flavored cocktails when we did our holes episode, so it feels a little tired. But I have to say, the only like prominent like usable feature to me in this movie has been like the prevalence of the peach. So you do something, and honestly I kind of fuck with a little artificial peach. So you get like the peach McGillicuddies, you do it like Sex on the Beach I think has peach in it, but just any sort of like mixed drink peachy thing with a little peach ring on as the rim, you know, instead of a sugar rim you do a little peach ring on the rim, and it feels very like youthful, whimsical, peach related to me. It ties in with this film. Also, I feel like you want to be drinking something kind of fruity, kind of light, kind of fun. I don't know.
I like that. Okay. Drink is not really solidified, but I'm going to tell you to do what I did. Because, and this is what I was drinking too while we recorded. I made a bee's knees. Super easy. It's like honey syrup, lemon, and gin, and that's basically it.
Ooh, that sounds
good, simple
stunning.
Cocktail. Yeah, right. Nice little summery drink.
I think anything you can attach the word whimsical to is if you're like, this is a whimsical drink. Knees. Then for sure.
A bee's knees. I'm gonna tell you to do that, or I mean, there's obviously the whole connection, like peach wise, with like her having a trip. You can go and you can do so if you know a good absinthe cocktail, or if you just want to like straight up like drink like do the whole like absinthe like by the book thing. Go for it. But food wise, this is also what I did. Because this movie is while this movie is great, love the flavor, fun. It's not super colorful, honestly. It's kind of a brown movie.
It's a brown movie.
It's a bit of a brown movie. And a dish that's kind of the same. Great, fun, love it. But is brown. I went for like a mushroom risotto. I think you do a mushroom risotto with this.
And I saw you post this on your story, and you said like people who think that risotto is hard to make just aren't trying hard enough or something along those lines. And
gatekeeping it.
Yeah. And
whoever said that like making it is difficult is a fucking liar. It just takes time.
All you have to do is just be stirring it. Like you just have to be willing to stand at the stovetop and stir it for a good, 30, 40 minutes, which to me, if you're like cooking it for a function, I want to be away from the action. I want a reason to not talk to people. Like, always like the dad at the barbecue who grills, I'm like, I get it. You don't want to talk to anyone. Like, you just want to be grilling burgers and dogs.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
You have a visitor come up, like, every now and then, have a little chit-chat, and then they leave you back to your burgers and dogs.
Be like, oh, sorry, I have to cook this risotto. And nobody's gonna fucking question it, because that's fancy as hell. But all you have to do is stand there and stir it, and then you're just left alone.
Exactly.
And I've never done it, but my husband Henry makes risotto quite often, and I'm like, oh, so you need alone time, huh? Like, oh, so you're making a risotto, okay. But yeah, it's like genuinely not that hard. It's just like fancy rice. It's just like rice that you cook for a long time. So yeah, risotto pretty fire. I thought you were gonna say when you said like brown foods, for some reason my mind immediately went to like oatmeal, and I'm like, why?
I mean, it's rice oatmeal, basically.
I was like, why? Oatmeal. I was like, why are you about to tell them to eat oatmeal? Like, that's not correct. And then I was like, and then you said it, and I was like, okay, yeah, why would why? Who the fuck would say oatmeal? Okay.
So for my drink, I brought something from a local brewery.
Oh my god, I'm about to hold on. I'll show Dara. You keep talking.
Labyrinth Brewing is actually a local brewery in Connecticut. This is not a sponsorship from them. Just a note. But Turbo Love Juice is their like iconic drink, and they actually have a Turbo Love Mobile that drives around the state with their orders. So like it's like a fully pink like Amazon driver van, essentially, or a Sprinter van that they just like drive around in. I love it. So Turbo Love Juice, and I was like, I don't know that the name fits. There are but they sell great beer. I can no longer drink beer because I recently became gluten intolerant. Sad, right? I know.
Brutal.
If I were to make a peach cocktail, however, we used to make one at a liquor store that I used to work at called Peach Rings. Ooh. And so it is peach liqueur, pepper gin, and tonic, or diet tonic. And it literally tasted like peach rings.
That sounds super hot.
I love that you gave specifics, because we have been deducing on this podcast that we have a food and drink segment, and we simply do not give recipes for either. We say like, drink something blue and eat something brown, and why even bother? But that sounds stunning. So pepper, what did you say? Pepper gin.
So peppered gin, it's Uncle Val's peppered gin, and then there is like just peach liqueur, something you can get when you go into
like McGillicuddy's, and then a tonic,
like a shot and a half, and then top it off with diet tonic.
Now that sounds stunning, and I will try it because I love a little cocktail, and that sounds so good. Especially
that's our official recommendation.
I'm privy to gin personally. It just seems.
I love gin.
But
I was like, gin is my liqueur, and for my food, I was like, this sounds weird but it's more like a kid comfort food for me, but also falls into the category of brown, and that would be like a pot pie.
Okay,
like flaky, crusty, fully brown.
Yep.
But when I was like, but there's different characters on the inside.
It's very hoggle.
Jim Henson,
it's very hoggle.
If you're Jim Henson, it's too many characters on the inside of the pot pie. But we made it work, and in less than 2 hours. So,
and what are you gonna follow this movie up with?
So I alluded to it before, but I just cannot recommend enough the Dark Crystal TV series. Like I said, you don't have to have seen the movie because it's a prequel situation. So just go on Netflix, the Netflix original, the Dark Crystal TV series. It's all like practical effects and puppets. And it's, if you're a puppet Muppet type of person, it's just so gratifying to like see how they've over the years, because like obviously Jim Henson was big in like the 70s and then like early 80s, but like to see the way that they've developed the technology of puppets but still maintained like the practical effectiveness of them is so cool without like compromising that with like shitty CGI, to be honest. I don't know, like it's like great voice acting, great puppeteering, great technology, and it's so cool. So go watch the Dark Crystal Netflix series, and then the movie is like afterwards, so you can like watch the shitty movie at the end. Like you can watch this like really beautifully done Netflix series, and then you can watch this like kind of like not greatly done 70s movie at the end. But my other recommendation is that Dune has Sting in it. So the original Dune movie, which I loved the new Dune, and I did not love the original Dune, the David Lynch Dune. It's like, it's arguably so garbage, but it's one of those garbage movies, like if you get just like drunk enough, or if like you're just in the mood to like watch a fucking shitty movie, the old Dune with Sting in it. So I'm like, oh, David Bowie's in this, let's do like an old movie with a pop star, so let's do Sting. So old Dune, that's mine. But I do think if anyone has any reverence for any opinions on this podcast, I do think you should, if you are into puppets, Muppets, whatever, go watch Dark Crystal. That's my final. I've said it before and I'll say it again.
I am gonna tell you just simply go from some goblins to gremlins and just watch Gremlins. So, some more puppets. Simple as that.
So my follow-up movie for this, as I have already mentioned, is Muppets Christmas Carol.
Of course.
Yes.
Again, because like it's another movie where they pull out all the stops to make the puppetry work. And like, if you don't know anything about how that movie was rendered, or like how they got different puppets to do different things, especially the ghosts, like look into it. That Wikipedia page must be flourishing.
I'm sure.
Guaranteed. But that is the one that I would suggest. It is also just like a flawless movie. Small snippet. If you watch that movie, you must also watch The Love Is Gone. It's on YouTube. It is a song that they cut from the movie, but I make everyone stop the movie and watch that music video, and then go back to watching the movie.
Okay. I'll have to do that. And then what would you rate this movie?
So, like, arguably the watching experience, if you're going in dry, is a little, like, not great, because you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, I can appreciate, like, you know, some of this, but, like, what the fuck is happening? So, I think, like, as a dry viewer, I'm gonna give it a 6, but as far as, like, you know, puppetry, artistry, lore, heritage, all the things that I can appreciate about it, I'm gonna give it, like, a strong, like, 7.5, like, upwards of 8. As far as, like, I think my going into it understanding how influential and cool this movie is affects my viewing experience, and the fact that I can, like, recognize that, like, so many scenes should be cut, and that it was arguably, like, kind of messy and not greatly made. I overshadowed by the fact that I know like how fucking cool it is. So like upwards of 8, you know, but like arguably a 6. So
yeah, I'm just gonna sit it at like a strong 6.5. Like all things into account, it is a little too messy for me, but like you said, it is just wonderfully done and just so artistically amazing.
As a piece of nostalgia, I have to give it an 8.5, like 8.5 cod pieces.
Yeah, of course.
But as watching it this most recent time, from a critique standpoint, like I was watching it specifically to be like, what can I critique about this movie? Yeah, there's so much that needs to change. I would possibly score it lower than you guys. And I am also very harsh when it comes to critiquing movies. I would probably say like a 5.
Yeah.
5 of Jareth's balls.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. 5 for
right, it's just so fun.
5 for Shigis.
Yeah, 5 for
Fushigi, if you would like to sponsor the podcast, go ahead and reach out.
Thank God. If you'd like to revive, I don't know if anyone's buying fushigis these days, but that's about it on the pod.
That's the pod.
I'm so fucking happy that you chose this movie because, like I said, so many people were like, as far as like David Bowie's like, do I want to be him or do I want to fuck him? And that was like the queer sexual awakening for so many people, being like, I'm confused about this, and then I will divulge further, you know, like he just is magical, mystical, and everything that we need him to be and more. And I'm so happy that you were our guest this month because this was so great and you provided so many fun facts.
Yeah, honestly, like way more qualified to host the podcast than either of us.
But so everyone keep your eyes and ears peeled for what we're doing next. We are doing more fan favorites coming up. These next 2, I'm going to say, are heavy hitters as far as queer sexual awakenings. So yeah, you're welcome. And as always, just peep the description for all of our social medias. For our merch, we just got Swamp Booty shorts, so like peep those. They're fucking funny as hell. Even if you don't want to buy them, click on them, because like clicking on things helps traffic. If you didn't know that, like when you click on a website, they get more like cred or whatever. So fucking click on our shit. Go follow us on all the socials if you don't already, and DM us, please, for the love of God. Tell us who your queer sexual awakening was, or otherwise just tell us what movies you want us to cover, talk about, themes, chocolate or vanilla themes, movie themes, month themes, all of it. Just please be in our DMs. We fucking love it, and we appreciate all of you, and we love you, and happy fucking Pride again, and goodbye and good night.